Tantor Audio, a division of recorded books, presents Crossed by Emily Mcintire, narrated by Elliot Fitzpatrick and Ellory Lane. When I had seen you twice, I wanted to see you 1,000 times. I wanted to see you always. Then, how stop myself on that slope of hell? Then I no longer belonged to myself. Victor Hugo, The Hunchback of Notre Dame. Prologue. Cade. Festivale, Vermont, looks different in the dead of night. It's a dirty town, filthy, teeming with darkness. My superior sent me to revive the historic area, to bring it back to the path of righteousness, where it's been missing for far too long. When I first arrived earlier today, it sent a shot of nostalgia through me. I sat in the passenger seat of the SUV as it rolled slowly down the roads, the French colonial architecture reminding me of my childhood, of growing up in the back alleys of Paris, begging for scraps, and stealing just to keep myself alive and fed. This town, much like Paris, drips of sin, although it lacks the finesse. Instead of holding on to what should be a rich history, preserved from when Vermont was part of New France in the 1700s, Festivale seems like a caricature, a farcical ode to somewhere it doesn't belong. The name of the town itself isn't even real French. Still, if I were a man of hope, I'd look through the dusty windows and see potential. But there's evil polluting the air, making it thick and muggy, a dark cloud that blankets the valley and creates disease in everything it touches. I can smell it with every inhale, taste it with every breath. A part of me worries it will infect me too, but I cast the thought aside quickly, feeling my defenses fortify until they're as strong as steel. I'm not sure what time it is now, just that it's hours after my arrival, and when I left my new home, it was nearing midnight. I hadn't meant to venture outside so soon after arriving, but there was a need surging inside me, a familiar one that I try to ignore. And I'm only human. When my own sickness comes to fruition, I'm helpless against its pull. Il est miséricordieux. He is merciful. Tonight the air is cold, and I rush down the cracked sidewalks and back alleys, a hint of frost nipping at my nose and the tips of my ears, until a stinging numbness skates across my skin. I dip my head, the collar of my black peacoat chafing against the sides of my neck, as I make my way through what I'm guessing is the roughest part of the city. The full moon casts an eerie glow on the quiet streets, my footsteps echoing through the otherwise still air. Suddenly, a door to my left opens, yellow light bleeding from the entrance, highlighting the silhouette of a woman. Her voice bounces off the crumbling brick buildings that have rotting boards and broken glass for windows. I hesitate, frowning from beneath the wide brim of my hat as she saunters off her stoop and moves toward me. I scan the area. There's nobody outside, except for us. She stops directly in front of me, her hazy gaze peering up into mine, pupils dilated, making her eyes as black as coal. My stomach drops. Un démon. A demon. You're new, she croons. Her voice is raspy in a practiced sort of way that I'm sure has been honed to make a man's cock twitch and his baser instinct surge forward. But I haven't had a single sexual urge toward a woman in years. Disgust burns the back of my throat, and a voice whispers in my mind, but I try to ignore the wicked thoughts. I didn't come outside to act on my impulses, only to clear them from my psyche. I stare down my nose at her, towering over her wiry frame, though she isn't short by any means. A burst of icy wind whips across my face, my teeth clamping to keep from chattering. Goosebumps sprout along the woman's creamy, exposed chest, and she shifts, leaves crunching beneath her feet. Her palm reaches out and ghosts down the lapel of my black coat, and it spurs me into movement, snapping out my gloved hands to grab her fingers tightly. A surprised gasp leaves her sloppy red lips. "What's your name, Demon?" I rasp. The shock melts from her features, a gleam of curiosity taking its place. "That's quite the accent." She steps in close. "You can call me whatever you want, as long as you can pay, baby. Cash or smack, if you've got it." My sickness sings, and before I can shove it back down, my monster, that sickness, explodes, sinking into my bones until they ache. I drop my hold from the woman's wrist and give her a curt nod. Her grin stretches until it reaches the corners of her sunken face. "Follow me." She spins and walks back to her open door, and I scan the area one last time, ensuring no one is around to see. Still alone. Her place is small and filthy. Just a single room with a dirty mattress on the floor, and a lamp with no shade flickering in the corner. The bed itself is riddled with stains, and I can smell the unholy matings permeating the air, so thick it makes me feel like I can't breathe. Years ago, I would have been envious of this space. I would have longed for a mattress beneath me at night and a roof over my head. But that was before. The woman turns to face me, and I notice the pockmarks scattered along her gaunt face, a feral desperation swimming in the depths of her features, reaching out to capture my energy with its shadowy black claws. The man in me wants to step away, but the monster calls her closer. Her bony hips sway as she saunters over, and something sour teases the edges of my mouth as I watch her malnourished body attempt seduction. Her hands slip up the front of my peacoat, undoing the buttons slowly. I let her, and when the material gapes open, her eyes lock on the distinct collar around my neck, widening as her head snaps up to meet my gaze. She jerks, but I grab her hard enough to bruise, dragging her flush against me. "Le diable est l'intérieur de toi," I hiss. She shakes her head. I don't know what that means." I lean down until my words whisper against her coarse, tangled hair. "It means the devil is within you." My hands skim up her arms until I'm wrapping my palms around her fragile throat, the thrum of her heartbeat so loud I can feel it through the leather of my gloves. Excitement bursts like a piñata in the base of my stomach, and now my cock does twitch. I don't care that she's clearly a sex worker. It isn't what she does that calls to my monster. It's what's inside her. I only wish to free her of her demons. "Don't worry, my child," I continue. "I've come to help." And then I press down, applying pressure to her delicate windpipe. The sleeves of my coat rise with the movement, and her fingernails dig into my exposed wrists, gouging the skin, making my muscles tighten. I enjoy the way she fights. Releasing her right before she loses consciousness, I undo the scarf from my neck and wrap it around her throat, crossing the ends and pulling. Slowly, her body slackens, and it's only when I see the life leave her doped-up eyes that the violent need within me fizzles out until it's nothing but burnt ash, my sickness dissipating like it was never there at all. I lay her corpse on the ground, breathing deep as I take back my scarf, rebutton my coat, and crouch over her body. My fingertips touch her forehead, then her lower chest, before creeping across each shoulder in the sign of the cross. "Give thanks to the Lord, for he is good," I murmur. Already the tendrils of guilt are weaving through my middle, coiling until my breaths become choppy and my vision starts to shake. But I can't control it. I've had this thing within me since I was born, damned from my very first breath. It's only in servitude that I can attempt to cleanse my soul. There's a monster in you, child, and God wants me to beat it out. I shake off the voice from my past and stand up quickly to make my way outside, ensuring the coast is clear before I head back to the center of town, to my new home. It will be a long night. I won't be able to rest until I atone, both for the sinful act of taking the life and for my lack of remorse after doing it. Guilt squeezes my middle for not feeling anything at all. I'll welcome the pain. He is merciful. I grit my teeth against the harsh air while I walk, trying to remember where I packed my discipline, the whip I keep for times like this. It takes me 20 minutes to get back, the Notre Dame Cathedral gleaming in the full moon, its two intricately designed bell towers looming over the main square, like a promise. The outside architecture is very Gothic, and a nearly exact replica of the cathedral with the same name in Paris, although on a much smaller scale. This entire town is like a time capsule, history that doesn't truly belong to these people or this country, suffocating the air with its ill-placed potency. It draws tourism and money, though, and if the United States excels in anything, it's greed. I quicken my steps, and am just about to head beyond the doors and around to the back courtyard where the rectory is, when movement at the base of the cathedral steps catches my eye. There's a man leaned against the stone. His eye is closed and his hair tangled as he tries to keep warm beneath a holy blanket and fingerless gloves. My throat tightens. I know how unforgiving the cold nights can be when you're sleeping on concrete streets. I stride over and rest my hand on his shoulder, squeezing gently when he jerks awake. My eyes flicker over where we touch, a few deep scratches marring my pale wrist, and a vivid memory of my fingers wrapping around that woman's throat just a few moments earlier makes my blood heat and a burst of adrenaline rush through me. "Come inside before you freeze." I nod to the cathedral doors. The man's gaze widens, and he hesitates for only a moment before mumbling out a thanks and following me up the stairs. We head past the stone gargoyles that line the front and into the warmth of the narthex, which is the lobby just beyond the vaulted entrance. "You can sleep here, or in the nave if you wish." I jerk my chin toward the pews of the sanctuary before spinning to move down the hall that will take me to the back exit, to the small cottage at the rear of the church property that I now call home. "Who are you?" the man asks, his voice echoing off the high ceilings and stained glass. "I've never seen you before." I pause, but don't turn to face him. "I am Monsieur Frederic, but you may call me Father Cade."
Chapter 1. Amaya. Fuck. I suck in a breath. pulling my hand away from the gas stove and rush to the sink, flipping the tap so water cascades over my singed skin. Tears prick behind my eyes from the sharp pain, but I clench my teeth, letting the lukewarm liquid soothe the burn. I'd like to blame the shoddy appliance for my mishap, but it was just me getting lost in my thoughts. Even now, as I watch the water pour from the rusted nozzle of my kitchen sink, the small waterfall breaking apart as it meets my finger, I start to drift away, lost somewhere in the back of my mind. Somewhere I don't feel the sting. Somewhere I don't feel anything at all. Shaking my head, I turn off the faucet, sighing as I glance around the one-bedroom apartment, looking for my little brother. "Quinn?" I call out when I don't see him. Noise from out front seeps through the paper-thin walls of the small living room, and my brows furrow. I make my way to the door, the cold air from the bitter Vermont fall bleeding through the cracks, making a shiver race down my spine. I glance up, noticing the lock I keep high on the door is unlatched, and a heavy feeling drops in my gut. I always keep it locked. Quentin elopes, and it's my job to make sure he stays safe when he's self-regulating. I can't believe I didn't lock it. There's a shawl I keep hanging on the coat rack, and I reach out quickly, ripping it down and wrapping it around my shoulders as I wrench open the door and step outside onto our front stoop. The icy breeze punches me in the face, but I ignore it, my eyes darting around the crumbling sidewalk and down the street. As soon as I see the huddle of kids on the corner, my throat tightens and I race toward them, my long legs eating up the distance. One of the boys laughs, his foot coming back like he's about to kick something in front of him. "Cat got your tongue, you fucking idiot?" My chest spasms. "Hey!" I yell. The little asshole's leg freezes and he turns around, along with the other 4 kids, 2 boys and 2 girls, who are flanking his sides. My stomach drops when I see who the main one is. Bradley Gammond. That little fucker. His mother is a defense attorney for the state, and she absolutely hates me. The same way she hated my mom, and the same way that apparently Bradley hates Quentin. When did kids get so mean? Their eyes widen when they see me, and Bradley's cheeks tinge pink beneath his fair skin. His hand jerks out, grabbing the arm of the boy next to him. They all rush away, their quick footsteps smacking against the pavement. My brows crease as I move forward, seeing a hunched-over form with short, fluffy black hair rocking back and forth in the middle of the sidewalk. Quentin. A lump of guilt swells in the middle of my throat. I can't believe I didn't realize he was out here. "Fucking bullies!" I scream after the kids, picking up a medium-sized pebble and throwing it at them before crouching down next to my little brother. The chill of the concrete creeps up the insides of my long, flowy purple skirt and latches onto my skin. But I don't mind. I'm no stranger to cold weather in Vermont, and I became a pro years ago at pretending that my thin clothing provides enough warmth. Quentin is shaking, his hands curled into fists so tightly his smooth, tawny brown skin is blanching white, and I know without seeing that his nails are cutting into his palms. I send up a quick prayer that he isn't bleeding enough from the self-infliction to need antiseptic. He hates having things touch his hands. Honestly, he hates being touched in general. "Quinn?" I murmur, making sure I don't grip his arm until he acknowledges me. His head turns toward me, his green eyes identical to mine, big and round, but he doesn't make a single sound. Shit. He doesn't speak often, and when he does, it's normally phrasing he's picked up from others. It's only in the past year that he's started to manipulate the words into his own sentences, and when emotions run high, he tends to shut down, so his silence right now doesn't surprise me. It wasn't until his 3rd birthday that he started to form words at all, echoing people around him and scripting things he'd already heard. Echolalia and gestalt language processing, his therapists call it. But that doesn't mean he's not smart, despite what those kids were saying. Quentin is the smartest 6-year-old kid I've ever known. And the best. Period. They're jerks, okay? I say, not sure who I'm trying to soothe, myself or him. He drops my gaze. A sense of failure drips from the knot lodged in my throat and cascades down my insides, making my heart pinch. I tighten my jaw, not wanting to show my struggle in front of Quentin. It's my job to be strong for him, and I try. God, do I try. But sometimes it's so damn hard. It's a cruel place here on Earth, filled with people who don't get it, who choose not to understand that just because someone is different, it doesn't mean they're less than. Quentin deserves the whole world, and I'd do anything to shield him from the harsh reality of one that refuses to offer him even a small piece. The people of Festivale make it even worse. Quentin, being my little brother, makes him guilty by association. I'm the town outcast, and he's different. Although they blame that on me, of course, along with everything else that goes wrong in this town. I can't even count how many times I've dreamed of packing us up and disappearing to somewhere else, somewhere we can start again, just like my mom always used to do. But that's unrealistic. I have bills and Quentin's therapy and 1,000 different types of responsibilities here. Besides, I can't just rip him away from the only home he's ever known. When I was little, long before Quentin was born, my mother used to pack us up right after I'd get comfortable in whatever place we were in, and then plop us down somewhere new. I learned quickly that making friends was a useless skill, and that having a sense of belonging was a pipe dream I read about in books, not one I got to experience in real life. The last thing I want is for Quentin to have that same experience with me. He's my world, the only thing that matters. I reach out my hand, holding it in front of his curled-up form, waiting until he places his palm in mine. I squeeze, giving a broad smile as I pull him to a stand and lead him back into our home. Once we're inside, he immediately walks to the small rectangular kitchen table and slips into the worn wooden seat, grabbing his tablet and getting lost in his safety net. Can't say that I blame him. If I could, I'd be running to curl up in my bed or heading to the nearest pole studio just to blow off steam and get lost in my body instead of my mind. Pole dancing is the only thing that's ever made me feel like me. The unpaid internet bill winks at me from the kitchen counter where I've stowed it away and tried to forget that it exists. But this morning, and the way Quentin just ran to his tablet, are stark reminders that his apps aren't just a luxury, they're a necessity. And if I can't pay the bill, then he can't feel safe in his own home. Tonight's Monday, which is usually my night off, and it's one I'd planned on spending with Quentin, vegging out and relaxing. But before I can second-guess myself, I grab my cell phone and send a message to my only friend and roommate, Dahlia, as I drop down in one of the chairs. There's a missed call, and I cringe, my stomach twisting when I read the name Parker on the screen, and I swipe away the notification to type out my text. Me. Hey, I'm going into work tonight. Can you watch Quinn? A reply comes through quickly, and I sigh in relief. Dahlia. You bet. I'll be home at 4. I run my hand over my forehead and glance across the table at my younger brother. His face is motionless, like whatever happened didn't even affect him, like he's forgotten about it already. But looks are deceiving. Quentin never forgets a thing. Besides, even if he appears to bounce back quickly, I don't. The feeling that comes along with knowing some asshole kids were trying to physically harm him will stick with me forever. Another notch sliced into the already marked-up surface of my heart. In the really hard moments, I wonder if those notches will turn to scar tissue, making an impenetrable wall too thick to breach. Some days, I wish for it. My phone rings again, and I look down. Parker flashing across the screen. My heart falters, but I silence the call. It's way too early to deal with him. Parker Arene is the bane of my existence, and the reason Quentin and I live in perpetual debt. He first showed up when he was dating my mother, after we moved here a little over 5 years ago. I'm not sure how she got involved with him, but it didn't come as a surprise. My mother was a beautiful woman, similar to me in almost every way, with her long black hair and striking green eyes, her legs for days that accentuated her thick thighs and hips. When necessary, she looked the part of money easily, even when she had none, and she was a siren to men, calling them over and casting them under her spell with a single look. She and Parker started dating almost immediately after we arrived, and it was only after she disappeared that I learned he was secretly renting her out to his friends in high places, the type of friends who need discretion and are willing to pay a pretty penny to ensure they get it. But in public, Parker Arian and Amaya Paquette quickly became the talk of the town, and for the first time, I felt a sense of belonging, even when his stares lingered just a little too long and his hands wandered a little too far. Only when she disappeared, he didn't. He simply switched his focus from her to me. He didn't like that she left him high and dry, leaving his clients out of a woman to warm their bed and money they'd already paid for the privilege. So now I'm stuck paying off her debts. Most of the money I make ends up in Parker's dirty hands, and he thrives on making me need him in any way he can. A shiver sprints up my spine, and I shake my head, turning my attention to Quentin. "You hungry, Quinn?" I ask, my nails tapping on the worn wood of the table. It's a piece of shit, just like everything else in this place. I grabbed it from the dumpster down the street 5 years ago, right after my 19th birthday, which was also right after our mom made me the town enemy and then disappeared, leaving a note that said 6 words. "I'm done. He's your responsibility now." Funny how having a daughter when she was 15 was manageable, but an oopsie baby with one of the many loves of her life at 33, who showed signs of being on the spectrum, was too much to bear. Fuck her. I dragged the table inside and then spent a few days sanitizing it until my fingers bled, but I didn't care. I was just happy to give Quentin and I somewhere to eat that wasn't the floor, determined to prove that I was better than our trash egg donor who didn't love us enough to even try. "Quinn?" Quentin doesn't look up, and dread starts to grip my insides, knowing I don't have his normal scrambled eggs to offer because I just fucking burnt them all on the stove. It's been his comfort food for the past 6 months, the only thing he'll eat for breakfast, and if there's anything I want to do, it's comfort him. "How about some chocolate chip waffles?" I smile wide, trying to entice him. I think there are some left. They might be a little freezer burned, but they'd do in a pinch. He shakes his head, making a clicking sound in the back of his throat before saying, "You want eggs?" It's not a question. The phrasing is just part of his Gestalt language processing. "I want eggs," I reply. "I want eggs," he echoes, then adds his own thought. "That sounds good." "You got it, dude." My throat tightens as I bob my head, knowing I'll have to run next door and ask Mr. Brochet for some, and he's a skeevy, grumpy old man who doesn't like to be bothered. But I do it anyway, because if Quentin wants eggs, that's what I'll make sure he gets.
Chapter 2. Cade. Parker Arian. I knew the name before I even came to town. My superior, Bishop Lamont, mentioned him frequently enough that I know Parker is the catalyst that inspired me being sent here. But this is the first time I'm meeting him in person. He's a decently attractive man, with porcelain skin, light blonde hair that's graying around the edges, and an air of pompous ego that I'm salivating to grind into dirt. He waltzed into my office in the back hallway of the church 20 minutes ago, acting as though he owned the world, which I suppose, at least in this little spot in the universe, he does. Parker runs Arian Enterprises, a holding company that owns 70% of the other companies between here and the neighboring towns. Parker's name graces the sides.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?